But actually, now it's good because that's a good segue into like our other thing because we're talking. Okay, are good people? Are there people? Oh, how did they go again, Rose?
Yeah, are they good and bad people, or are they good? Are there people that just make good or bad decisions?
Okay, so what do you think? What do you think about that, Rose?
Um, I feel like there's an element of both in it. Like from the beginning, when we start off, we might just be people making good or bad decisions. So like, let's say, like in primary school now, you stole someone's Capri Sun, like for the first time ever.
Uh-huh.
I don't like that's definitely a bad decision. Like the fact that this was your first time. I know this is kind of mad specific, but
Uh-huh. You can't forget the first one. Uh-huh. Go on.
so like you've just made a decision. You've made a bad decision. Like, is this your first time stealing? It's a bad decision that you made. It doesn't make you a bad person per se. But when you know fully well that this is a bad thing and then you continue to do it, that's when you become a bad person. So I believe that like at the initial point, maybe I've just made a bad decision. But eventually, I know I want to hear you guys' argument. I believe that to an extent, like that's not totally correct, but like I want to know what you guys think.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
just how
no.
I feel.
This guy's confusing himself.
Yes. Yeah, no. No,
Like
Rose.
the guy was halfway through his points and he was like,
And he was
"Man,
like,
I want to
nah.
hear what you guys say. Like, I don't think that's the."
No, like, what I was even going to ask the guy was like, when you say continue, because if I stole that Capri Sun, I'm gonna fucking drink it. Yeah, I know I shouldn't, but is there anything of okay? I probably shouldn't steal more. But here's my thing about the whole thing, though. It's like,
Mhm.
good people, bad things. I don't know. I feel like when people are born, anyways, I don't think they're necessarily born good or bad. I think it's just a matter of the values and what they grew up with. So, say for example, like a serial killer. Is anyone born a serial killer? No. You know what I mean, it's just what they were grown up around and blah 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 blah. So if you do bad things consistently, like you said, yeah, I would agree that you probably are not a good person. Is it your fault? Maybe not. And that's why a lot of people might not agree with me. And maybe not, might not be your fault. If you think about, for example, during slavery times, I mean, white kids and black kids. If you're born as a white kid during the time of slavery and you see your parents having slaves in the backyard, you might not think it's bad. I mean, you might be like, oh, I mean, niggas gonna be niggas. Yeah, I mean, like that's just what you would think. So I don't know. I don't know. I think it just really depends on how you were brought up, what the perspective is. Obviously, society will try and tell you this is good and this is bad, which is fine. And because there has to be a line somewhere, and obviously certain things like religion will still kind of like come into it. So I don't know. I don't know. That's what I'm thinking.
I mean, yeah, I would say like this. You guys are pretty much on track with what I was thinking before. Like, there's 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 definitely good and bad people. Like, I don't think there's any escaping that. There's good people, there's bad people. I don't know if you guys have heard this song by Model. Do you even know Immortal Technique? Probably not. But anyway, Immortal Technique has this song, "Dance with the Devil," and it's basically like a story about this guy who wanted to be a gang member so bad.
Mm-hmm.
But he was like a petty thief, he used to do like the small things. And then when he met like the hardcore gang members, were like, nah, like all these things you're doing isn't anything. Like you have to do something way more intense for you to be one of us. So they told you that I had to rape someone for him to be
Oh
initiated into the
god
gang.
damn.
So the guy went one night, he like met up with the gang members and they saw this woman on the street around like 2 a.m., like late at night. So they stopped her. Obviously, they beat her up, and then they like told him he had to rape her. So he raped her, and then they all raped her. And then after that, I gave him a gun and said he had to shoot her. And like, so before he shot her, he like removed. So they when they beat her up, they tied her face obviously when they first kidnapped her or whatnot. So he took off the mask, and then it was his mom. This is a
Oh,
Oh,
yo,
yeah,
the fuck?
nah,
yeah. So as you can imagine,
Is
like
that can't be a true
ah,
story? Is
it
it?
was a true
yeah,
story. According to him, it's a true story. According to him,
Yo,
it's
what
a true
the
story.
fuck,
ah,
man?
So the guy then
no.
jumped off the roof and killed himself, and then the gang members killed his mom, and just after that, family
Oh,
ended. But what's the interesting, like in the chorus of that
oh.
song, He's like, ask a nigga doing life if he had another chance. But then again, there's always the wicked that knew in advance. And that's like where it comes down to for me. There's the people that didn't know necessarily what they were doing. If it like one time, two times, they might not necessarily know the consequence of what they're doing, and it's not yet a pattern of behavior ingrained into them. But when it becomes constant, and when there's people who know what they're doing before they do it and do it anyway, they are definitely just a bad person, you know. Like regardless of, I agree with skills. There's people that it's not totally their fault, but regardless of if it's your fault or if it's not your fault, there's still a standard for what's good and what's bad. And if you fall on the spectrum of bad, regardless of if it's your fault or not, you're still bad, unfortunately, by
No,
societal
but in their
standards.
mind, they're not bad though.
In the mind, yeah, in the mind, that no, you know, but then again, if we're going by a subjective standard of is there good and bad people, then it probably isn't because everyone's moral code on what's considered good and what's considered bad is so wide adrift that you don't really have a middle ground. There's Hitler that believes everything he did in Austria and the Holocaust and everything is totally justified. But if you ask any normal person today, they'll say, nah, there's Churchill, slavery, racism, you know, for him, all that is cool. All this King Leopold, all that is cool. Like for them, what they're doing wasn't bad.
The King
But
Leopold one, I think he knew it was bad. That one, nah.
nah, that nigga didn't care, bro. That nigga did not care, man. Well, in a question like this, we have to apply an objective standard, and the objective standard these days would be, I guess, the law and what's the law in most countries, what's considered good, what's considered bad. And if we're going by an objective standard of good and bad, then there's definitely good people, there's definitely bad people. I don't think we can avoid it.
Okay, so here's another perspective is because like in certain times, yeah, I don't know. I feel like there are certain times when things are good, and there are other times when that same thing might be bad. Like,
Yeah.
say for example, like the slavery thing you just mentioned. If you're born in that time, even black people, by the way, they might just be born and feel like, oh, okay, this is just how it's meant to be. Like black people are meant to be this, and white people are meant to be that. I mean, now today we'll now say that, oh, okay, no, society has dictated that that's not how it should be. But back then, though, society dictated that that's how it should be. So where is then the underlying or overlying factor? Because if we're just going by societal rules, back then, if you were a slave, for example, and you killed your master, then you're going to be tried because you've done a bad thing. But if that happens, say for example, in a modern day society, they'll be like, it's even like abusers, and then they kill their abuser. It'll be like, okay, well, yeah, you killed somebody, but the society and Twitter were going to support you because this person was doing stuff like that, doing stuff to you. So do you guys see what I'm saying? Like
I get what you're saying.
killing at some point. Yeah. So what is then the override? How does even religion even go into that? Because you know, would they have gone to the good place back then and then maybe the bad place now, or vice versa, or like, you see what I'm
I
saying?
feel like the line isn't always what the law says because at the end of the day, the law is made by people, and the people making the laws, especially at that time, was very one-sided. And the people, if white people are making laws beneficial to white people, I don't think that's a good enough standard to use to judge the whole of society. Like there still has to be more input from other ethnic groups and smaller communities in order to have an objective law that truly benefits everyone. So if we're talking slavery, for example, even during those times, even though it was law and white people were okay with it, there were still white people that were not okay with it that were trying to help black people, and there were still black people
True.
trying to escape from all these slave camps and during the Middle Passage, trying to jump overboard, trying to escape. So that still tells me that even then, these people were not happy with whatever law was happening at the time, and that's why eventually there was an emancipation. Because over time, there has to be like an insurrection somewhere, and then someone says, "Nah, this isn't cool," and then enough people join into that, and then they say, no, we're not going to do this. And then somebody in the white community that has the power then has to take the reins and institute the change that needs to happen. So I wouldn't say that the line is that blurry even then. I just feel like, and I do agree that there's some things
Mm,
that maybe back then, if you give me something like underage marriage or child marriage,
yeah,
I feel like that's a better example because I do think back then a 14-year-old, if you married a 14-year-old, it was not like it
it
was not
was not. It was
it
okay,
was
right?
normal.
But now it's
And
not
I feel
okay.
and I feel
So
like it
now
was
what?
normal on both sides, both the 14-year-old and the person doing it. And
Yeah.
then over time they realized, but then again, there's education that comes with it. Over time, there's the research and says, okay, these are the side effects
No,
to
yeah, but
this
education aside, the what I'm saying is, there's just that line though. So back then, if it was okay, I mean, they won't see it as rape.
line
They won't see.
shifts. Yeah, the line
Or the
shifts.
line is shifted now.
I agree with you. Yeah, the line shifts on certain things. I don't think slavery is one of them because I do think even then it was bad.
No, I think the line did shift to slavery a bit though. I mean, it's
because
bad now. No, it's very
black
easy
people were
to.
never okay being slaves, bro.
No, but we don't know that though. That's what no,
Nah,
actually,
we
no,
do know that.
no,
We do know that.
Let me tell you, though, there are stories of people that slavery, like black people, they've escaped slavery, or now slavery is over, they've gained their freedom. Now they're like, let me own slaves now. And that literally
Yeah, but why did they want to escape slavery and gain freedom? Why would they want to do
No,
that?
it's not necessarily no. It's not necessarily because they wanted to escape. Let's just say by some sort of the matter, they've now gained their freedom. The rules changed, the emancipation happened. Okay, you are not slaves anymore. Okay, now I'm free. But they've been in bondage their whole life. So they don't know any more than to let me own a house now. Maybe I should get some slaves in the backyard. And those are things that it happened. You know what I mean? If
These
you
are
look
outliers, though. I'm saying on a general, why would
I
they
don't know
want
if
their
they're
freedom?
outliers though, because
Why
that's just
would they want their freedom, Mr. Skills?
No, but that's what I'm saying is because if you're born into a I don't know the house that the like boys quarters or whatever, yeah,
You're a fool. What am I trying to say?
and you grow up, you're seeing like 10 black people. They go work on the plantation. They're singing songs. They're happy. You know, this is all you're born into. So in your mind,
never happy though. I feel like
they were singing songs. You know, at least they would smile at some point.
The songs were not out of joy, my guy. That was not out of joy.
I get that, but all it takes is just to be in that middle era where there was nobody fighting anymore, and it's not quite the. Yeah, I mean,
but why do you think that ever existed though? Because there's no historical account that I've read that's ever said that ever existed. Like, there's no.
No, it doesn't have to
I've
tell
never
you
read
it
a story
existed.
that says slaves were ever okay with being slaves.
No, I'm not saying no, but you don't know. There's nobody. No, they won't come out and say, "Oh, I'm okay with this." But to them, that was the norm, though, and that's why I'm giving you
the
two
norm.
examples.
Doesn't mean they were okay with it though.
No, but they were not mad at it though. That's what I'm
no,
saying.
But they were.
No,
they
you
were.
don't. I'm
Yeah,
telling
they
you,
didn't have a choice now. He said they were not.
They didn't have a choice, my guy. There's nobody you're telling me
they have a choice,
you
man.
give birth today.
No,
they will
no,
snatch
exactly.
your child.
But what I'm
and they will
saying
kill
is
your child.
you're
pregnant. They will hang you.
No, that's
They will
different.
slice
Now,
your
what I'm
stomach.
saying is
This was what was happening, bro.
Okay,
Like,
no, that's
who would
different.
ever think this was
no,
okay?
Wait. Okay, so think about when the slaves first left, the West Africa, wherever, and then they went to the Americas, right? They went to the New World. Now they are slaves. That's that generation. Now, if you think about the next generation and the generation after that,
let's change the terminology a bit because it didn't leave.
When they were captured and taken.
Exactly.
Yes.
Continue.
Yes, we're on the same page.
Nah, terminology matters. So continue.
You're right. And then now, okay, that generation, and then the next generation, and then the generation after that. Now you're in a middle generation where they don't know what the niggas before them were fighting for because they probably don't have contact with them anymore because of separation, family separation, and all that, right? So it's like, well, I'm born into this world, and it seems like I just happen to be this skin color, and it seems like we just happen to be serving these white people. Well, then that's just how it is. It won't necessarily dawn on them that, no, this isn't fair, because they won't be educated to that aspect. And I gave you the example, like I said, of black people. Okay, they got free, and then now they're like, what am I finna do? I guess I'm just gonna get slaves myself. That's example number one. Example number two, if you think of the story of Liberia, right? Freed slaves from the Americas went back to colonize a certain region in West Africa. And what did they do to the indigenous people there? They made them slaves. So that's what I'm saying. In their mind, is like, okay, well, it seems like black people being slaves is just the norm. It just happens to be what side do you fall on. Do you guys see what I'm saying? So that's where I'm coming from. Is
I feel like
it's easy. It's very easy though. It's very easy to say now from our perspective of, no, it was bad. Yeah, we know it was bad, but we don't know what the mindset was back then. We can't.
I'm telling you, we do. Like, this is what I'm trying to say. I feel like you're trying to equate the experiences of a slave then to what like a maid goes through now. It's one thing for like a maid to go into a house that he chose to go into, by the way, and then maybe he lacks the education to be more than that, so he decides to stay, and then he's just like, okay, the life for me is to either be a maid or be a farmer or be something. No, I'm trying to tell you, like, this is what it sounds like. And then there's that, and there's being a slave, there's being captured, even the middle people you're talking about.
Yeah.
Even if you're born into a plantation, it's not like your day-to-day life in a plantation is like, this is why I said you're trying to equate it with a maid. A maid here will go, he'll do his job, they'll give him food, And then at some points, maybe he'll go home or he'll go back to boys' quarters and go and sleep. That's not what the life of a slave was, my guy.
But not in all plantations, though. Some plantations had good masters. So it could, and I'm not even trying to take the piss.
So in which plantation was it? So the slave can just like, hey, yo, master, I want to go for a walk, innit? Like, just give me 2 hours.
But we have a lot of land. You can go for a walk around the fucking plantation.
Oh, you can go around plantation, but you can't leave.
Yeah, I'm never trying to take the piss.
They see a book somewhere and they're like, well, you can't read that. If you read it,
but they didn't
know they weren't allowed to read because they were not allowed to. They were not allowed.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So after those people that they knew how to read passed out, now nobody can read. Now what? How they going to read to tell you? Education?
Education or lack thereof isn't the only way to gain wisdom. You don't need to read a book or have Western education.
So how would they gain wisdom that this is bad? How would they know that this is bad? How?
Bro, when they whoop your ass 2-3 times, you're like, I don't like this. That's how you fucking know.
Yeah, okay, you don't like this, but there's no moral code to know that, oh, this might not necessarily be good. People feel pain through natural means anyways. Childbirth is painful. They don't like it, but they do it.
But they understand it though.
Understand? Yeah, okay. So what's the understanding level then? Because they can now understand if you're talking in that sense. Like, okay, seems like wise people are just meant to be in charge, and that's it. You know what I mean? Now what?
Skills. Do you believe a child knows when they're in pain and when they're not in pain?
Yeah, but what I'm saying is the pain is not pleasurable, but it doesn't necessarily mean not normal.
But we're not talking about normal though. We're talking about what's good and what's bad. And I'm telling you, if there's a set of people that feel aggrieved by what is happening to them, then they know like what is happening to them is not good. Can we agree on that?
If they feel aggrieved, in what sense?
If a slave is restricted from doing a fucking million things, is
like
being forced
like reading,
reading, going anywhere. There's no freedom. In fact, there's no freedom. There's no rights. If like they have no freedom, they have no rights. So it's like the highest form of bondage you can think of, right? And then so like I said, they have no freedom, they have no rights, and then they're being forced to do all these things, whether they want to do it or not. Are you trying to tell me that because they don't have Western education, that they don't know what is happening to them is not right?
No, it's not just about Western education, though. I'm saying it's also about exposure to experiences. Because they've just been in this plantation their whole lives, they cannot understand if all they see is black people working and white people being in charge. I remember I gave a unique example of they might not necessarily be whipping them or be very horrible masters. They might not be able to assimilate that this is good and this is bad. And trust me, I feel like we're also saying this from the perspective of today's society because we know. I feel like in 100 years from now,
I'm not. I'm actually
no,
not.
it's true though. It's true.
I literally read history, bro. Like,
same. But I feel like in 100 years from now, they'll look back and like these niggas in 2022 were so fucking stupid. They could not find a solution for homeless people. They could not find a solution for cancer.
That's probably fine. Yeah, that's probably true.
That's fine. So we are looking back on our same mindset of okay. Let me give you an example. Like, okay, you have siblings now. I don't know. Okay, it's like me. I'm last born, right? I'm last born. Think about growing up as a last born in an African household. Like, wash plates, they can tell you to shut up. You can't tell them to shut up. I mean, they literally can do anything. Thinking about it, it won't necessarily occur to you that this might be fair or unfair unless you have outside.
Did it occur to you?
No, I didn't necessarily like it, but then at some point, I'm like, maybe that's just how it is because there's no actual answer.
Why can't it be both? Because they're not mutually exclusive, though.
They're not mutually
That can be how it is, and you can say this is unfair. I'm last born too, by the way, and I definitely thought that.
Yeah. So what was your experience? Were you like, okay?
My guy, every time anything went wrong in the house, they said it was me. Just because I was last. I hated that shit, bro.
Yeah, you hated it. You know what I mean? Because you're a human being, you feel emotion, but at the same time, you were like,
there we go.
Yeah, but at the same time, but I'm saying that you hating it didn't equate to this is bad. Let me fight the system. You were just like, that's how it is.
So are you saying at no point do you ever feel like things need to be different?
I didn't want that, nigga. Which system am I about to fight? I'm like, okay.
I'm not saying you fought the system because you don't have the power to fight the system.
Facts, okay.
And we're not talking about having the power because slaves also did not have the power, and that's why I said, before an emancipation happened, there had to be slaves had to come and say, "Oh my God, I don't like what's happening to me," and as far as I'm concerned, if we're saying the initial generation that went and then all the educated ones were wiped away, and then we're talking about the middle era who didn't see the ones before them, that's the example you gave, right? So
Mhm.
at what point do slaves come together and say, oh my God, what is happening to me is not right? At what point did they start trying to escape? At
They
what point were
start
they like,
trying to escape
we
and
want
get
our
those
rights? When
ideologies
did that
when
happen?
somebody shows them
So who showed
better.
them?
Maybe they had like visiting day from another plantation, nigga. I
Oh,
don't
they
know.
don't, bro. They
Okay,
don't.
I see. I
Nigga
don't
said
know.
This
visiting
nigga
day.
is like, bro.
No, people trying to take the piss.
I'm trying
But
to tell you, even then, they knew this shit happening to them was
Nigga, I
not
didn't
right.
say Avicenna, bro.
yo, get the fuck.
This nigga said visiting from another plantation, man.
No,
Nigga
but
said
even if
visiting
no,
day.
wait.
Nigga,
Okay,
this
they might
isn't
not have
rice
had
and
that
chicken we're
luxury.
talking about, bro.
They might not have had that luxury in maybe one plantation, but in another plantation they might have. And if those people are fighting for the system, eventually you would hear about it. That's just how it works. I mean, it wasn't like I know they did not have phones back then, but news still traveled. I mean, come on. I mean,
See, I'm not saying there weren't people that just accepted it for what it was, because I think most of them would have accepted it for what it was. What I'm saying is accepting it for what it was and feeling aggrieved and feeling like this isn't right and something needs to be different is not mutually exclusive. Like you can do both. And I don't feel like at any point were slaves ever happy in the
I didn't
situation they
say
were
they
in.
were. They didn't say they
Wait,
were happy or
but
unhappy,
this is what
but
I'm saying. For you to say the line of good and bad,
uh-huh,
back then in regards to slavery was still considered good, because we're saying
uh-huh.
good and bad, right? We're saying it wasn't bad, and we're saying it wasn't
Yes,
bad because they were conditioned into that. And I'm saying
yes,
for something to be objectively good and bad, you need to have
uh-huh,
input from both sides, not just the side of the oppressor, but also the side of the victims. And if the victims, which in this
uh-huh.
case is the slaves, back then felt like what was happening to them was not right, and they were being beaten, they were being chained, they were in bondage, and things needed to be different, then I can't say objectively what was happening to them was good, because it wasn't. It was good for one party,
Yes.
and the party that it was good for is the party that had all the power and was making all the decisions. So it was rigged in one side, bro. Like at no point was this thing ever objectively good. It was just accepted. And that's why I say it's not mutually exclusive. It can be accepted, but it can also be bad. And I feel like it was accepted and it was bad.
Yeah, but from our perspective now, though, that's what I'm saying.
I
I get what
know,
you're saying.
even then.
I
Because
get
if
what
it
you're saying,
wasn't,
though.
nothing would have changed.
No, and I agree with you, but that doesn't account for everybody's experiences, though.
I
I
already said that. I said not
Okay,
everyone. I
so
said
we're
the
on the
script I
same
would have
page
accepted.
in that aspect. Okay, then fine. Then fine. Now, say another example now is women being given the right to vote. I mean, interestingly enough, it's very easy to look back now and say, oh, yeah, I mean, women fought and blah 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 blah. And there is inequality, and there's no doubt about that. However, if we look at the history books, women did not actually want the right to vote. So if you think now we can say, okay, yeah, it's good, we did a good thing. But back then they wouldn't have agreed with you. You get what I'm saying? So I'm just trying to harp on my point of yes, there is good and bad, but the line definitely shifts. That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
I said that too.
I
And I
know
said
we're
in
on the
regards
same
to
page. I
some
know we're on the
things,
same page. I
but
know
not
we're on the same.
everything, bro. No,
Yeah,
not everything.
I know we're mostly on the same page. So like, yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So that's me.